Hello, namaste. Welcome back to Bhagavatam for Rationalists. My name is Kamalakar Gulukota, and this is episode 42 of our 7-day web series. And this concludes our sixth day of our 7-day series. Anyway, in this episode, we will talk about the expanding Yadava clan. We saw that Balarama was married, Krishna was married many times over, Subhadra is now married. So the Yadava clan grows. Krishna, of course, had many children from his 8 wives. Names like Pradyumna, Deeptiman, Samba, Brihadbhanu, Madhu, Mitravinda, Shrutadeva, Chitrabahu, and so on and so forth. The many, many sons and daughters he had with his 8 wives. He also had a son with Trivakra or Kubja. Remember the lady that sold him cosmetics on the streets of Mathura when he first went there. He had a son with Trivakra whose name was Upashloka. He grew up to be a great poet and a philosopher. He actually wrote this book called Satvata Tantra, and this Tantra is supposed to be particularly helpful for women seeking to reach God. Um, Balarama and Revati, of course, also had 2 sons, and though their names were Nishata and Ulmuka. And according to some traditions, Balarama and Revati also had a daughter whose name was Shashirekha. That's not very important for our story. But let's go back to Indraprastha. We have Subhadra and Arjuna there. They have a son and they name him Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu, as he grows up, in the end becomes the father to Emperor Parikshit, who is the one talking to Shuka in our story. And then the other Pandava brothers, Arjuna along with his 4 brothers, they have children with their polyandrous wife Draupadi, and those children are called Upapandavas, or the little Pandavas, or the young Pandavas. All right. So, as you can see, it's a time for peace, at least for now. And during this time of peace, several stories are told about what Krishna and Balarama were up to, what was going on in Dwaraka, and so forth. So, the first of the stories that I would like to cover is the story of Nruga Maharaj. So, Nruga, um, once Pradyumna and Samba, two of the sons of Krishna, are going around in the forest, and they find a chameleon inside a waterless well, and they are completely fascinated by it. So they call Krishna, and Krishna sees the chameleon and touches it and lifts it up, and immediately that chameleon changes form into a human being and explains how it is that this came about. He says that he was King Nruga. This Nruga Maharaju in his previous birth was the son of King Ikshwaku, and he was Nruga was a great and pious king who ruled with justice. Um, Once, because he's so pious, he's performing a yajna, he donated several cows to several Brahmins. But unfortunately, one of the cows that was given away to a Brahmin called Kashyapa comes back and joins Nruga's herd again. So, Nruga, unaware of this, not knowing this mistake, he donates the same cow again to another person. Now, the 2 recipients of this same cow were stubborn fools. Nruga offers them thousands of cows, but they say, no, no, this is the only cow I want. Nruga even offers them to give him his whole kingdom. But they say, no, we don't want your kingdom. We want this particular cow. So the conflict is unresolved. They wanted the same cow that was re-gifted. And of course, that's not doable. The conflict remains unresolved for the rest of his time. And as time goes by, Nruga therefore then dies. And when he dies, he's brought in front of Lord Yama for judgment. At that time, Lord Yama tells him that he had in fact lived an impeccable life, but there was a small blemish in it, which is this re-gifting of a cow. Being careless to accept something that was given away back into the herd is considered as bad as, when someone steals from us, we are vigilant enough to see that it happened and try to make amends. But if something comes back and joins us, maybe we are not as vigilant, and that is the mistake that Nruga did. So because led such a good life, Yama tells him the punishment was to be fairly lenient. He has to lead life as a chameleon, but then he gets to meet the Lord Vishnu himself, the avatar Krishna. And when he does meet with Krishna, his life will end. And saying this story, Nruga then bows to Krishna and says, "My life has ended thanks to you, and now I can go back to paradise and spend an eternity there." So that's the story of Nruga Maharaj. And once during this peaceful interlude, Balarama visits Vrindavan to meet with his relatives and moms and dads. He meets with his moms and his dad to Rohini and Yashoda and Nanda. They're very happy to see him. They embrace each other and talk about news going on at both places. And then Balarama also meets with Gopikas, and there is the usual complaints from Gopikas about why don't you visit more often? Why doesn't Krishna visit more often to us? Janani Janakula Nanujula Danujula Bandhuvula Mitra Tatula Vidiche Nemmanamuna Nondu Dalampakatanu Nammina Vari Viduvadagune Harikin. He left his mother, his father, brothers, relatives, friends, they're all here, but he left them, and we are here too. We are the ones who have believed in him without thinking of anybody else. And yet, is it fair of him that he leaves us behind? Or, in other words, that he gives such long gaps between visits to us? So, Balarama tries to console them, and he takes them on a picnic, the Gopikas, to the banks of the Yamuna. And on the banks of the Yamuna, they have some wine. Balarama drinks wine, gets a little bit tipsy and drunk, and he demands that Yamuna change her course and come to Vrindavan so that there can be greater irrigation. Yamuna, the river, of course, quietly refuses. She doesn't change her course. So Balarama uses his plow. You saw in his uh, picture that his arm, his weapon is actually a plow that he uses for doing various things. So he uses that plow to plow the whole river itself and changes its course. And in fact, what you see in this map is you have Mathura and Vrindavan and Gokulam somewhere around, and you have Yamuna not flowing in a straight line, but rather taking these curious looking curves. It's not like there are any mountains here. This is on the Gangetic plain. In the plains, the river taking such curves. So, this is a mythological origin story about how that happened, how the river course became so crooked. Anyway, Krishna and Rukmini's eldest son was Pradyumna. This is Krishna's eldest son. He is an incarnation of Manmadha. He marries Rati Devi herself. This couple of Manmadha and Rati is considered the canonical man and woman couple, and they always belong together. So they have a son. His name is Aniruddh. And Samba, there is another son of Krishna. He falls in love with Duryodhan's daughter, whose name is Lakshana. So Samba and Lakshana, Samba goes to Hastinapur, and Samba and Lakshana try to elope from there, but then they are caught by the Kaurava army, and Samba is imprisoned by the Kauravas. Lakshana is not allowed to meet him. Upon hearing this, the Yadava army readies to attack Hastinapur and start a war, but Balarama stops them and says, "No, no, Kauravas are after all our relatives. I'm going to go there alone and I'm going to talk to them and see what we can do." And Balarama tries to find a peaceful compromise, but Kauravas are adamant. They refuse to release Samba, and they also say some insulting words about the Yadavas. So Balarama starts to thinking, శ్రీమదాంధులు సామంబు చేత జక్క బడుదురే ఎందు బోయడు బసులదోలు Pagadi Nugra Bhuja Vijrumbhana Samagra Sumahita Topamahilon Manilo Najupakunna. He thinks people blinded by arrogance of wealth will not listen to quiet reasoning. We need to be like the boya hunter. Boya is the name of a tribe. Like a boya hunter who forces his prey where he needs them to go. Quiet reasoning must be accompanied by war cries, by strength, and by valor. So instead of course, calling back to his army, Balarama starts plowing again. This time he's plowing the mighty Ganga herself. So he is aiming to bring the Ganga close to the city of Hastinapur, so the whole city will drown. Kauravas see this. They had, of course, heard about, Balarama plowing the Yamuna. So they budge from their adamants. They come down, they release Samba, and they come down to Balarama and say, "We are sorry, we shouldn't have said those things. These two kids, Samba and Lakshmana, love each other. Let them get married." So Samba and Lakshmana get back to Dwaraka and get married. Finally, we have the story of Baanasura, which is the love story of Usha and Aniruddh. So, Baanasura was an asura in the lineage of Emperor Mahabali, the one that Vamana avatar had suppressed into Sutalalokam. So, he was the king of this one. Baanasura was the king of Shonapuram, and he had received a boon from Lord Shiva to make him very strong. And because of his arrogance about his strength, he asks Shiva, "Come on, I'm tired of fighting all these tiny little kings who put up no fight at all. Please get me a warrior that can fight with me on equal terms." And Shiva smiles and replies, "Oh man, you're so arrogant. Anyway, that particular thing will happen when your flag falls down without any reason." So Banasura has a lovely daughter. Her name is Usha Kanya. She once had a romantic dream with Aniruddh in it. But of course, she doesn't know his name. She doesn't know who this handsome lad is. She just has seen him in her dream. So she then calls her friend Chitrarekha and tells her problem. And Chitrarekha uses extraordinary resourcefulness by pulling together portraits of all kinds of royalty and celebrity all over the world and shows them to Usha. And Usha looks through all of them, sees the portrait of Aniruddha and says, "Yes, that's the man. That's the one that I saw in my dream. I would like to see him and meet him." So Chitrarekha uses magic and kidnaps Aniruddh from Dwaraka and brings him to Usha. ఆలోలన యతిచరమగు సుఖంలీల జరుగగా వరుస నుషాబాలలలామ కొయ్యన జూలేర్పడి గర్భముదవె సురుచిరభంగిన్. Anirudh was, of course, ecstatic to meet with this gorgeous Usha, and they spent several months together in Usha's quarters. Remember, this is supposed to be ladies' quarters. Men are not even allowed there, especially not a handsome young man like Anirudh spending alone time with Princess Usha. Anyway, they do that for several months, and in due course, Usha became pregnant. Upon hearing the news of this pregnancy, Banasura is furious. He ties up Anirudh in what is known as a Nagapasham or a serpent rope. So Anirudh is not able to get out from there, and at this point, Bana's flag falls down in a windstorm. And just as Shiva predicted, this, signifies that he is going to have a fight with a great warrior. And sure enough, the news of Aniruddh's imprisonment reaches Dwaraka, and Krishna arrives there with an army to rescue Aniruddh. And Banasura's request to Shiva is fulfilled as he gets to fight Krishna. Um, Krishna does defeat Bana in this, but Bana is not killed because Vishnu had promised Emperor Mahabali that he would not kill Mahabali's descendants. So Usha and Aniruddh's marriage is performed after Bana is defeated, and everyone happily returns to Dwaraka. With that, we conclude day 6 of our series. Tomorrow, we will complete the story of Bhagavatam by beginning with how peace between Indraprastha and Hastinapur was shattered. I would hope to see you then. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Thank you. See you tomorrow.